Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Joel. On today's video, we're going to look at Adobe Illustrator and how to set up a new document that can be transferred to most laser cutters, whether you are cutting something out of acrylic or wood or something lighter like paper or felt. The following guide is going to help make sure that your document will easily transfer into a laser cutter controlling app like Lightburn, RDWorks, or almost any other file. So let's get started. When you open Illustrator, you should be greeted with this new document type screen where it's got a variety of different formats ready to go. But most often we want to press this blue button, New File. Here you're going to get a lot of other options. Generally, I like to take a file that I can not only work with for laser cutting, but can also print if I need to see it on paper before I cut it out. To do that, I'm going to click the link at the top that says Print. I'm going to choose letter or A4. A4 is more global standard letter for the United States. And then on the right, we need to make sure we've got a bunch of settings ready to go. For example, we do not want to work in points. We want our units to be as precise as possible and specific to the task of design work, which is of course a tool that, well, the subject that we use the tools of laser cutters. So we're going to go with millimeters. Next, I like to change the page orientation from vertical to horizontal, also called landscape. This is because most of our computer screens are landscaped. They are not, we don't stand our pages up vertically or turn our laptops on their sides. Computer monitors are wider than they are tall, so are televisions. Down below, we want our color mode to be CMYK. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it certainly can. And we are not working with a bleed as we generally are not printing, so set that stuff to 0. When you're all good with that, you are ready to rock and roll, so press Create. Now there are several things we want to do. For laser cutting, we often have a lot of different pieces or components to a project that need to work together. And we need to be able to arrange those in space, and we want to be able to arrange them very closely so that we don't waste material. One way we can do that is by turning on a guide to help us see what we are working with and the spacing between them and relative sizes. So at the top of our screen, we're going to go to the View menu, and we're going to scroll down pretty far and press Show Grid right here. It's also Command apostrophe on the keyboard. Now this grid can get overwhelming. Right now my grid is set up to show one major grid line every 1 centimeter or 10 millimeters. The subdivisions are dividing it in half, which means that each of these smaller lines are 5 millimeters apart. Now you might want to change that or even change the colors. How do you do that? Go up to the Illustrator menu at the top of your screen on the left, go to Settings, Guides and Grids, and here you can change the color of your grid. For example, if you're working with gray materials, you would not see a gray grid, so you might change that to red, blue, black, or whatever works for you. If you want your grids to be farther apart or closer together, change the grid line every X units, millimeters, and the number of subdivisions. Personally, I'm going to leave it right here for today. That's great. If you forgot to change your units in your documents and you're still working in points, picas, or something unhelpful for laser cutting, change that right here to millimeters. And other than that, you can go ahead and click OK. Most everything there should be ready to go. Now, the most common tools to use are going to be the Select tool, the Direct Select tool, the Pen tool, and then the Object tools over here, which include a rectangle, an ellipse, polygons, stars, and line segments. Quite honestly, folks, for many laser cutting projects, the line segment tool looks like it would be very efficient, but it is not. We probably want to avoid that one. Just trust me on that one. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and make a rectangle. Now, when we are laser cutting, one thing is critical: size matters. If you just click on your canvas and drag a rectangle, it's very, very hard to know how big it is. What you see on the screen does not always translate into what you get in real life. So we need to make sure that whatever size we're creating is precise. It is accurate to exactly what we want in the real world. How do we do that? Instead of dragging the rectangle, which we do see the units there, it can be really hard to get something exact. What we can do is merely select our shape tool and then click one time with our mouse. This opens up a window asking what size of units we want. So I'm going to make a 50 by 100 millimeter rectangle and press OK. And there's my rectangle. Now, another way to do that, of course, is to use the grids in the back. But when I try to draw, it's very hard to line things up perfectly with those grid lines. So what I want is to enable a setting that will cause my mouse to automatically snap to these grid lines. That helps us arranging things in space. It also helps us to draw things precisely. So we're going to go back to our view menu at the top, and not only did we turn on the grid to see it, now below it we're going to turn on snap to grid. Snap to grid will now let me draw shapes that are perfectly in line with those grid lines. So if I want a 2 by 5 centimeter rectangle, I no longer have to click and type. I can actually just draw it quickly based on my grids. I can always verify that over here in the properties window. Now let's suppose you don't have the properties window. Maybe it's missing. How do you get it? Any window can be opened in Illustrator under the window menu. So properties is really important. If you don't have that, go ahead and turn that on now and dock it over here or wherever you are comfortable with so that it does not go away. You can do that by clicking on the tab, dragging and dropping it anywhere. You might pause the video now and take a few moments to practice moving that around. Now the properties window is going to give you a lot of really useful tools, such as the size of an object, which you can use to reshape it. Perhaps I don't want it 20 by 50, I want it inverted 50 by 20. I can retype that here and you'll see it change in real time on your canvas. In addition, if I have multiple objects, suppose I had 3 or 4 of these, I can select them all with my select tool, and using the properties window, I can align them all to the left. I can align them to the centers, which will stack them. I can also distribute them horizontally and vertically if I open these with more options. That way I have even spacing wherever they are. Right? It's a wonderful, wonderful set of tools that you should take some time to explore. All right, so just to recap, we have created a new document. We have set it to millimeters. We've changed it to widescreen to better take advantage of the space of your computer screen. This is a personal preference though. And we have made sure we are working in CMYK color, which is ideal for printing and is just fine for laser cutting as well. Once we got our document open, we turned on the grid by going to View, Grid, or Command apostrophe. We turned on Snap to Grid so that objects will be able to quickly and easily jump to the edge of these grid lines. Finally, we also learned how to change our grid sizes and colors by going to the Illustrator menu, Settings, Guides, and Grids, and changing it to whatever works best for us. Now there's one more thing I want to show today, and to really understand that, I'm going to turn off the grid and delete one of my rectangles. Right now, as I move this rectangle around, I'm also going to turn off Snap. As I move this rectangle around, you may see some pink lines popping up on your screen. And you may notice that these pink lines seem to relate to the edges of my object and the center points of it. These are called smart guides, and these smart guides help let me know when I have aligned 2 object edges or center midpoints side by side. This is very, 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 very useful, and it may not be turned on. So let's turn that on. If you don't have that, go to the View menu, scroll down to where it says Smart Guides, or press Command U to turn them on or off. Without the Smart Guides, it's very challenging to have things perfectly aligned, and to do that, you almost then have to select your objects and use your Properties palette to align them across the top, the bottom, or whatever you need. But merely by turning that Smart Guide on, it eliminates or saves us the time and hassle of having to use that align tools by being able to easily pick up multiple objects, drag them, and align them in whatever kind of pattern or placement we need. So you can very quickly and easily make a beautiful grid, for example. All right, I hope this video was helpful. Stay tuned on my channel, and I will continue to post others like this in the near future to help you become a master illustrator, user, and designer for laser cutting. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.